Let's have a look at Hornpipe Desert Storm. We'll break all this down into bars and phrases. The most difficult part about this tune is the syncopated notes, and we'll come across them throughout the tune. So let's have a look at the first bar then. G grace note on E, E strike, a burl with a G grace note, and then an E grace note on the way. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And into the second bar. We come across the first syncopated note in the second bar, this high G. And we're going to have a look at the whole bar. And what we're going to do first of all is we're just going to count the bar out. So normally you would count your beat note. So there's your first beat note on the E. And there's your second beat note on the high G. So if this was a different note, if these two notes were different to each other, you would count it 1 A N D 2 A N D. Now one way of learning how to play a syncopated note is just by leaving the 2 out. So you would count it 1 A N D A N D. Let's do that again. 1 A N D A N D. So the other way of counting this note is by putting a grace note or a strike in between the two G's. I'm going to be playing a strike, so I'm going to put a strike onto the second high G, and then eventually you just leave the strike out. So you've got a G grace note on the E, then you move to the D, back to the E, then this thumb grace note to the high G. In here where you tap your foot again, you put a strike in, and then you stay on the high G, down to the F, E with a grace note, down to the D. So nice and steady. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then eventually you go for the strike, but you don't actually play it. 1, so leaving the strike out this time. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Let's have a look at the whole phrase now then. From the start, after 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So into the second phrase, you've got an E doubling, G grace note to the D, then an E, then a burl with a G grace note, and then up to the E again. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So into the second bar, we're just going to take this up to the first syncopated note. There's another one at the end of the bar, but we're just going to take it to this low G. So G grace note on D, down to the B, up to the D again, G grace note to low G, and carry it over. And again, you can put a double grace note on this until you've got the timing of it correct. So you put a grace note in between the two low Gs. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. We're just going to take it on another note here. So we're going to move up to the E, just so as you can hear the syncopated G. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then finish the bar. 1, 2. 1, 2. And with the G grace note in between the two G's. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then leaving it out. 1, 2. 1, 2. And now what we're going to have a look at, carrying this beat group into the second line. So we're going to play this low G up to the E, G grace note to the D, and then the B, carrying it across here, and then up to the E strike and the F. So after 2, and then on the B again, you can play a B strike until you get the timing of it right. 1, 2. 1, 2. And without the B strike, 1, 2. 1, 2. I'm going to try this full phrase now, and we're going to go into the second line. So from the E Dublin, 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 'So we're going to do the whole of the first line and this first beat group of the second line. I'm going to put it in the metronome at 40 BPM. So after 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. 'On to the second line. We'll start in this B, then up to the E strike, then the F, then a burl with a G grace note, then an E grace note on the low A. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And on to the second bar. This is possibly the most difficult bar to count in this part, And it's because of this short high A onto the quaver G onto the short E. I'm going to show you how to count this, and hopefully it makes sense. So what you do is you divide the two into 4 beats. So there's your first beat, your second beat, third beat, fourth beat, and then the second beat group, there's your first beat, and then you count this note as 2 beats. So second and third beats on the high G, and then you've got the E. So the way to count this is 1 A N D 2 A N D. 1 A N D 2 A N D. So you can use your metronome to do this. So you can subdivide the beat into 4. And if you subdivide the beat into 4, it's going to give you 4 beats in this first beat group and 4 beats in the second beat group. Okay, so we're going to do it at 40 BPM. 1 A N D 2 A N D. Let's do that again. 1 A N D 2 A N D. One more time. 1 A N D 2 A N D. So let's try and play it this time then. After 2, 1, 2. One, two. One, two. So let's play the whole phrase now without the metronome. After 2, 1, 2. One, two. One, two. And after that phrase, this last phrase is going to seem simple. So again, you've got another syncopated high G here. And remember, you can put a grace note or a strike on it to help you count it. So you've got a G grace note on D, down to the B, up to the D, thumb grace note to the high G, carry the high G across. Then there's an E, G grace note to D, and then down to the B. So let's try the first bar in the phrase, and we'll put a strike between the 2 high Gs. 1, 2. One, two. Let's try it without the strike. 1, 2. 1, 2. Let's go into the last bar then of the part. So you've got from this B, you've got a G grace note to D, up to the E, G grace note to low A, and then the burl. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So let's try the whole phrase. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Let's try the whole line, 40 BPM. 1, 2. 1, 2. The full part, we're going to brighten it up a little bit to 50 BPM. Join in after 2. 1, 2. Into the second part, there's a tricky piece here going between the two bars. We're going to do these first 3 beat groups. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it onto the metronome. And we're going to do, on this G grace note on E, there's going to be 2 clicks. And this E here, there's going to be another 2 clicks. And then on the high A, 2 clicks. And then on the remaining note, there's going to be 1 click on each note. So 1 click on this high A, 1 click on the high G. And just to help us count it, we're going to put a strike in here. And then 1 click on the E, 1 click on the F, 1 click on the D. So we're just going to slow this right down to 30 BPM. And we're just going to count this. So after 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. One, 2. Now we're going to play it without the strike. 1, 2. One, 2. And then we're just going to finish the phrase then. Again, we're going to keep it on the metronome at 30 BPM. 1, 2. One, 2. Into the second phrase, and we're going to do the same again with the metronome. So we've got this E doubling. There's going to be 2 clicks on this E. Then there's going to be 1 click on the D, 1 click on the E, and a burl with a grace note. Then 2 clicks on this low A, up to the E, G grace note to the D, and we're going to put another grace note in between this D just to help us count it. And then up to the E, G grace note to the D, finishing off on this B. So again at 30 BPM, nice and slow and deliberate. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then we're just going to finish it, and this time we're going to leave the G grace note on the D out. We're not going to play a G grace note in here. 1, 2. One, two. Let's do the whole line, 40 BPM. 1, 2. Two. First phrase of the second line of the part is nearly the same as the first phrase in the first line, apart from the last beat group. So we're going to just take it up until this last beat group. We're going to do the full phrase. Just going to take it to this last beat group. So it's just an E doubling, G grace note to D down to the B. So hopefully you are starting to get the hang of the syncopated notes, syncopated high G. So we're just going to take this really, really slow. 1, 2. One, two. Last phrase, first time through the second part. You've got a G grace note on this low G, move to the B, up to the D, thumb grace note to the high G, carry the high G across, down to the E, G grace note to the D, to the B. 1, 2. One, two. One, two. And just to finish the phrase off then, you've got a G grace note in this D, up to the E, G grace note down to the low A, and then a burl. So the whole phrase then, 1, 2. One, two. Second line of the part at 40 BPM. 1, 2. One, two. There's a second time bar in the second part, but this first bar is exactly the same as the first bar in the tune, and the remaining 3 bars is the same as the last 3 bars in the first part. So we're going to put this straight onto the metronome at 40 BPM, and we're going to play the second time bar. 1, 2. One, two. The second part, twice through, playing the second time bar at 50 BPM. 1, 2. First bar, first phrase. We've got this G grace note on E, and move down to the D, back up to the E, a G grace note on the burl, and then you're carrying this low A across, and then we're going to finish up on this E. And we're just going to count this again, so it's going to be 1 A N D, and this is your second beat on this low A, but we're not going to count this, but we're going to count this note. So it's 1 A N D A, 1 A N D A. And then we're just going to take it on a little bit further. We've got another carried over low A here. So you've got another burl with a low A, or with a G grace note. Then you carry this over again, and then you're going to move up to the E strike, and then up to the F. So we're going to count this again. So I'm just going to show you your beat notes again on this A. So it's 1 A N D A N D. There's 2 on this. And then this is your 1, first beat in the bar again, A, N, D. So we're just going to count that. 1, A, N, D, A, N, D, A, N, D. 1, A, N, D, A, N, D. 2 on this one, A, N, D. So let's go for that again. The other way of doing it is putting a strike in here and a strike in here, just to give you that time. And without the strike, and then just finish off the phrase. So you've got a thumb grace note going up to the high G, then down to the F, G grace note to the E, and then move to the D. The whole phrase then. 1, 2. One, two. 1, 2. Into the second phrase of the line. The first bar of the second phrase is the same as the first bar of the line, so we're going to go straight into the second bar. And from this low A, you're doing a G grace note on D, striking the D, G grace note to B, D, thumb grace note to high G, E, G grace note to D, and then down to the B. The whole phrase. 1, 2. One, two. One, two. So on the metronome at 40 BPM, join in after a count of 2. 1, 2. One, two. So the first phrase of the second line is almost identical to the first phrase in the first line, apart from this last beat group. So we're going to have a look at the full line, and we're going to start here on this F with a throw to high G, then you've got a thumb grace note to the F, move down to the E, then a G grace note to the D. And then the remainder of the second phrase is the same as the previous two parts. So let's have a look at the whole of the second line on the metronome at 40 BPM. Join in after the count of 2. 1, 2. One, two. All of the third part on the metronome at 50 BPM. Join in after a count of 2. 1, 2. The first bar and the first phrase of the fourth part is really quite simple. You have this high A doubling here, then down to the E strike, and then a throw up to the high G. Then into the second bar, you have the high A down to the E, high A again, and then you're carrying this up to the high G and then carrying it over, and then to the E, G, grace note to the D, down to the B. Again, just putting the strike in here till you get the timing of it. Leave the strike out. Whole of the phrase. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Into the second phrase of the line and first bar. So you've got a throw in the high G, thumb grace note down to the F, back up to the high G, thumb grace note to the B, E, high G, strike. And then you're carrying it over again. So this high G is carried over onto the next beat. The high G down to the B strike, then up to the high G again. Again, this can be made easier by dividing it all into 4. So there's 2 on this first high G, then there's 1 on this F, 1 on the high G, 1 on the B, 1 on the E, 1 on the high G. Then this strike or this thumb grace note counts as 1. And then you carry it across to the high G. So it's 1 A N D 2 A N D A N D. And then just finish off the phrase then. Thumb grace note down to this B, then a D, then a thumb grace note up the high G, and then E. The whole phrase. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. The whole line on the metronome at 40 BPM up until this E. So after 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. First phrase in the last line, and first bar in the first phrase. So high A Dublin, high A strike, and then it's G, E, G grace note to D, then down to the B. So the second bar in the phrase is quite difficult to count because of this second beat group. And so we're going to divide all of this up into fours again. So you've got the G grace note on the D, you move up to the high G, down to the F, then you've got the E Dublin, carry it over onto the next D, then have a G grace note to D, then down to the B. So just mark your two beat notes. There's your first beat note, there's this G grace note on the D, and your second beat note is this E. So we're just going to count it again. It's 1, A, N, D, 2, A, N, D. So you're counting the N and the D, or the A and the N on this D here. So it's the 2 which you're leaving out because it's carried over. So it's 2, A, N, D, and then you're moving to on the D to the B here. 1, A, N, D, A, N, D. So let's try that. So let's try the whole phrase now then. So we've done the second phrase in the line before, at the end of the second part. So let's have a look at the whole line at 40 BPM. After 2, 1, 2. One, two. So let's do the whole of the part. Just before we do the whole of the part, we're going to do this last phrase and go into the second time bar. You've got a different end note, so it's the F that you play when you're going. So the second time over it, instead of playing this E, you play the F and then you go into the second time bar. So we're just going to mark this phrase and go into the second time bar. Last part, twice through, with second time bar, at 50 BPM, join in after a count of 2. 1, 2.